So, do you think the world's ending?
Clearly.
How come?
Come on. It's about end times, productions, not my philosophy. Really?
Yeah.
Because it has to.
Watching the apocalypse.
Just looking at around the world what human beings are doing to each other. And I know it's nothing new, but at the rate, it just seems to, for me, it just signifies that major things are coming to a head.
The economy's in the shitter, you know. Arts.
We've got a war in exactly the region that we're supposed to be having a war.
Exactly.
Before the apocalypse.
Every major, religion, there will be a war in the Middle East, and then, fire will rain down upon your heads. I mean, it's.
We keep fucking this place up, man. God is pissed.
If you talk to like the previous generations, like I know my grandmother and my mom even is starting to get that way now, like in that very superstitious way. They're reading the signs. I mean, it's in the book of Revelation. The seasons would start to change and you weren't going to recognize the seasons, and brother would be fighting against brother.
I plan to go up to Canada eventually no, I'm not joking.
What's happening in Canada?
Things are gonna.
Well,
Things are gonna get.
not what's going to happen in New York City.
I like it. I think the world is ending. Clearly.
Soy sauce.
Economically, globally. I mean, it seems like environmentally we're pretty screwed, I would say. So I say let's acknowledge that and make art about it.
So, what made you come up with the idea of doing, apocalyptic types of games? I got asked very early on by someone. They asked about the company name and said, well, what do you think? Do you think the end of the world is actually coming? And my response to her was, well, don't you?
End Times Productions was created in 2006. They produced Apocalyptic Theater.
My unofficial motto with End Times is something that Laurie Anderson said. Shout theater in a crowded fire.
Yeah.
If the world's going up in flames, I'm going to go up with a sense of humor about it.
I recently read this Time magazine article called Apocalypse New by Lev Grossman. He writes that the end of the world is hot in entertainment right now. Films like Cloverfield, I Am Legend, 28 Weeks Later, TV shows like Jericho and Battlestar Galactica all have an apocalyptic theme. So I wanted to find out what's behind this recent trend of apocalyptic entertainment.
It's not really new. It's not really. I mean, people always, every decade had a genre of end of the world. The 50s, you had your invasion from outer space, which was fear of the Russians. Interestingly, it's kind of in the 60s. That's when they started getting into these concepts of viral outbreaks.
Oh!
Man.
Right.
I saw the big trend with that, that whole mid to late 90s trend where it was Deep Impact and Independence Day and Armageddon and all of those movies clustered around that time. And I wonder what it was about that time that those movies were created and succeeded.
I thought about that. I did notice that a lot, and I did notice that it seems like destruction is selling quite well, especially after September 11th happening.
Which is so twisted.
Which it
Because
is.
it's just merging with reality.
It's I think people got desensitized by the fact that September 11th happened, and everybody always immediately thought this is a movie, this is not happening.
Yeah.
So it's only been a couple of years later, and people are accepting that.
Independence Day. It was one of the first ones in the modern era. You had Apocalypse Now and stuff like that, but Independence Day just went all out. I mean...
And the black guy and the Jewish guy worked together in that one.
Save the world.
Will Smith and, what's that guy's name?
Yeah, and I like Bill Pullman was the president. That was, I don't know. I can't...
What was his name?
I don't remember.
Independence Day, he was the...
We're going to dwell on this until you tell us his name, for the record.
And now it's more of we're destroying ourselves. It's not some outside force of, someone coming down from, some other planet.
You remember him?
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff
Thank you.
Goldblum, that's his name.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk to you later.
That's his name.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff
That was-
Goldblum, Will Smith, Bill Pullman. Unbeatable trio.
Kind of, you know, still like survivalist fantasies, but because of like the biblical overtones of being in the new millennium, they're going more towards planet-wide destruction,
Yeah, it's-
meteors, you know,
meteors
things
and
that earthquake,
But shit
the
that
Earth's
has-
the day after tomorrow, you know, some massive overnight global warming incident.
Yeah, but
His name, but the same guy who directed Independence Day directed Day After Tomorrow. They were made like 7 years apart.
10,
7.
like 12,
96 and 03.
like 30 years
But
apart.
Independence Day, which I think is better, although I like Day After Tomorrow, had a happy ending, and Day After Tomorrow had a not really happy ending.
There's no
There's
happy
no
ending.
hope.
There's no happy ending there. I mean, and Hollywood likes to wrap things in a nice little happy ending bow, but I think a lot
Are we
of
getting
things are
to
just.
a point that we aren't wrapping things up in a happy little bow?
In those movies, like that's it. Like this is it. Like you're watching like people's last moments. You know, like it's the world's coming to an end, and there's like nothing you can do.
It's you know it's sort of like using religion as an excuse. You know, it's saying, well, there's nothing I can do about it. God, this is God's will. You know, this meteor is gonna come and destroy us. It's fucking, you know.
It's like preparing yourself and starting the process of desensitizing yourself to destructive things that may happen. That if you already have been primed up for it over the years in Hollywood, that like when something happens like that, you're like, oh, they just blew up a subway. Okay, no problem. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm ready.
They necessarily, if they made a really good like apocalyptic movie, then
I think maybe with the apocalyptic movies today, they just end the world for the sake of ending the world. Like the story doesn't really dictate it.
Yeah, they
it's
just think it's
like,
cool.
I want to be cool, so I'm going to end the world.
Which is very biblical. The idea that something's going to happen that's just beyond our technology, beyond our capability to deal with.
Like Cloverfield. You saw that?
You know, I didn't
No,
because
but-
I read that it's basically a Godzilla movie. I was
Yeah.
going to see it, but I was
But
like,
you get to watch a bunch of fucking Soho yuppies get ripped apart, man.
there's definitely a certain
Yeah.
appeal to that.
There is, you know, it's all it's
when you put
it's-
it that way.
It's all handheld TV, isn't it? Yeah.
Look, when I saw Cloverfield, when I first saw the previews for Cloverfield, for instance, when they didn't tell you that it was going to be a monster, and you didn't know what was attacking the city, it was like this sense of what's going on. And I feel like maybe that's the question the movies are asking. How desperate can you get, and what's going on?
You seen Children of Men? I hated that movie.
I
You hated
love that
I
movie.
hated that movie. Because that seems like...
All right. But Jeremy, when he
No,
hates
no,
a
no.
movie, it's usually
No, it's-
because
no, this
someone
is
had a slice
genuine.
of pizza in one shot and then didn't have it in the next shot.
No, this is genuine. Okay.
Like looking at Children of Men, they start off where things are like at the worst point, but then they bring that kernel of hope. And I don't know,
it is survival.
it is survival, but I've never seen a movie that ended with the complete destruction.
And then, or you have something that's basically, you know, they're saying, well, the world's going to end, but it's not our fault. You know,
Right.
and it goes back to, you know, just...
But then Bruce Willis saves them.
Then Bruce Willis saves the day. Self-sacrifice. Woo! You know,
I've
but
learned from all apocalyptic movies, what I've learned from all apocalyptic movies is one thing, and that is if Will Smith is present in the future, everything's going to turn out okay. Think about how many times he saved the world. Independence Day, I, Robot, I Am Legend. As long as he's there,
Bad Boys.
we're fine. We're fine.
Bad Boys 2.
You know, don't worry about it. Fresh Prince.
Fresh
I mean,
Prince.
come on.
You kind of can't go wrong with
Yeah,
Fresh Prince.
there you go.
I see it as a positive thing. I'm looking forward to the end of the film. I watch zombie movies. I always assume I'd be the guy who lives.